back to our channel, Your Health Our Concern. My name is Patience from Asset Pharmacy. To take a wrap on World Immunization Week, we'll be talking about 4 different vaccines, namely Bcg and Meningitis Vaccine, human papilloma virus, and Pneumococcal vaccine. Pharmacist Eunice will be telling us more about Bcg and Meningitis Vaccine. Stay tuned and enjoy. I'm Eunice. Please tell us more about meningitis and Bcg vaccines.
Bcg, Bacillus calmette-guerin. It's a vaccine containing live and attenuated bacteria and is administered to prevent against tuberculosis. Bcg is administered at birth or at least before 1 year, and it is usually administered intradermally under the skin and the left upper arm of the body. It is usually administered at birth or before 1 year in doses of 0.1 ml or 0.05 ml before 1 month. It is administered to stimulate the immune system to produce a immune response against tuberculosis bacteria, but it usually does not provoke any unnecessary reaction in normal doses and under normal circumstances. Bacillus calmette-guerin can also be administered in exceptional cases to children who are born to parents or grandparents that were born in regions that were endemic or that were at high risk of tuberculosis during their time. It can also be administered to children that live in regions that is at high risk of the vaccine. It can be administered to children that travel to endemic regions or to children that live in an environment where someone that has tuberculosis disease stays. Tuberculosis vaccine, that is the Bcg vaccine, is contraindicated when someone is immunosuppressed, like when your immune system is not functioning properly. This can happen when someone has some disease condition like HIV. Following administration of Bcg, it's usually observed, though in rare cases, that there is an elevation at the site of injection. You see that the site of the injection becomes elevated, and sometimes there are associated blisters or mild pain in some cases. These are exceptional cases though, but they exist. Now, what is the reason for administration of Bacillus calmette-guerin? I said earlier on, it is administered to prevent or minimize the effects of tuberculosis, and it especially prevents against tuberculosis that affects the pulmonary system. Tuberculosis. Now we want to talk a little about tuberculosis, the disease against which we are vaccinated. Tuberculosis occurs primarily by inhalation of airborne droplets or airborne particles containing Mycobacterium tuberculosis. That is the bacteria that causes the disease condition. And this inhalation of these particles occurs through coughing, sneezing, or singing. So when we come in contact with particles suspended in airborne droplets through this means, we come down with tuberculosis. And it occurs if we come in contact with the particles containing the active form of the bacteria, because that is the transmissible form of the bacteria. There are 3 stages in the life cycle or in the transmission process of this bacteria. We have the primary stage, and this is the stage through which the bacteria gains entrance through it, like it breaks the walls of the respiratory system, the barrier of the respiratory system into the lung. That is the primary stage. We also have the latent stage, like the stage of inactivity, so to speak, and this is basically the stage between survival of the bacterium in the system or defeat of the bacteria by the immune system. And then we have the active stage, that is the 3rd stage of the bacteria, and this is the most infective stage of the bacteria. So you could learn more about these stages and more about the bacteria by calling or reaching out to us on our webpage www.assetpharmacy.com. Meningitis vaccine. This is a vaccine that is usually administered to prevent against the disease meningitis. Meningitis is actually an inflammatory disease that affects the brain and the spinal cord. It actually affects the 3 membranes that lines the brain and the spinal cord, and it's usually caused either by bacteria, by a virus, or by a protozoa. In some cases still, it can be caused by cancer. That is when the cancer migrates to the meninges. or it can also be caused by inflammatory diseases and drugs. In other cases, the cause of meningitis is unknown. Meningitis is usually mistaken for flu because of symptoms associated with it. Other exceptional symptoms can include an unusual headache that is very different from every other form of headache. You find out that the person sleeps a lot, like it's always feeling sleepy or has difficulty waking up. In other cases, you also find out you can have stiff neck, fever, seizure, confusion, and other symptoms. The symptom also occurs in children, but in most cases, you see the front part of the brain, the upper part of the brain. This is called the fontanelle. It becomes elevated, and they can also have prolonged sleeping periods. That's a peculiar case for children. Yes, they also have fever. Complications associated with meningitis can include hearing loss, memory difficulty, brain damage, death in some cases, shock, or convulsion in some cases. Now, meningitis vaccine, it's given in the quadrivalent conjugate vaccine, and this is usually in two types. We have the ACWYD, which is given at a minimum of 9 months or beyond. We also have the ACWYCRM, and this is given at a minimum of 2 months. It can be given beyond 2 months. Then we have what we call bivalent conjugate vaccine, and this is ACWYTT. This is usually given in combination with tetanus toxoid vaccine and influenza vaccine, and it is given at a minimum of 2 years. It can be given beyond 2 years still. We have another monovalent vaccine, or the Meningococcal B vaccine, and this has 2 forms, as the name implies. One is the Hpv Vaccine. The other one is the Mpsv4 Vaccine. Then the last serogroup of the vaccine is called the quadrivalent Polysaccharide Vaccine. This is also known as Mpsv4 Vaccine, and this is usually administered after 56 years of age. The third serotype or serogroup vaccine, which is the Meningo B vaccine, is given from 10 years or beyond. These vaccines are generally considered safe, but when there is an allergic reaction, such as an anaphylactic reaction, following the first dose of the vaccine, it is usually advised not to administer the vaccine again. Meningococcal vaccine is also administered to women in exceptional cases. That is when the benefits is seen to outweigh the risks. Minimal effects is associated with taking this vaccine, and they include fever and basically pain and injection sites. Meningococcal vaccine is contraindicated when there is severe allergic reaction, like anaphylactic reaction. It is generally considered safe in pregnant women, but when the risk is seen to outweigh the benefits, in such cases, it is usually not advisable to administer meningococcal vaccine to women, even when it is necessary. Adverse reaction associated with meningococcal vaccine is usually rare, and they might include pain at injection sites, fever, and headache. But this can usually be controlled with analgesics.
Thank you so much, Fam Eunice. Fam Charity, please explain what pneumococcal disease is.
Thank you. Pneumococcal disease is one caused by a gram-positive anaerobe bacteria called the Streptococcus pneumoniae. These bacteria can affect different sites of the body, which includes the lungs, called pneumonia, the sinuses, called sinusitis, the brain and spinal cord, meningitis, the ear, otitis, and lastly the blood, bacteremia. This disease is classified as being airborne and also an invasive disease. When I say airborne, means it can be transmitted from one person to another by just mere sneezing, coughing, or just being in contact alone with an infected person. And when I say the disease is an invasive disease, I mean that this disease actually invades the body and attack a germ-free site, such as the blood, therefore causing sepsis and finally death.
Who is at risk of this disease?
The people at risk of this disease are people who are around low to middle income earning countries. Why? Because they are not too exposed to vaccination, that's pneumococcal vaccination. And the second group of people are those who live in tropical environments or cities where there are much rain and also very dry weather conditions, because the bacteria find it best to multiply. And the third group of people are travelers or people in a very overpopulated or crowded settings.
So what can we do to prevent these diseases?
The major way to prevent this pneumococcal disease is by getting vaccinated. Right now, I'm going to introduce the types of pneumococcal vaccine that you should be aware of. The first on my list is the Mpsv4 vaccine. The second one is the Hpv 13. The third one is the Hpv 15, and the last one is the Hpv 20. Hpv means pneumococcal conjugated vaccine. So I mentioned, which is the pneumococcal conjugated vaccine 15 and the pneumococcal conjugated vaccine 20 are new and are not proven yet to actually be able to ward off this pneumococcal disease as it is for now. But particularly, I would really talk about the Mpsv4 and the Hpv 13, which is what we really use now in Nigeria. Mpsv4 is administered to people greater than 65 years of age. The second group of people this vaccine is administered to are from 2 years to 64 years who have a medical condition. And the third group of people are adults 19 to 64 years who smoke cigarettes. The Hpv 13 usually administered to children below 2 years and also administered to 2 to 64 years of age who has a medical condition. Adults who are 65 years older should consult their physician if they really want to take Hpv 13. Standard dose of pneumococcal conjugated vaccine administered in Nigeria is usually given in 4 doses. The first dose is administered 0.5 ml intramuscularly at 6 weeks. The second dose is administered 0.5 ml intramuscularly at 10 weeks. The third dose is administered 0.5 ml intramuscularly at 14 weeks. And the last dose is usually administered 12 to 15 months of the child's life, also at 0.5 ml. And adults 65 years and older plan to take booster doses are given 2 shots of this.
Please, what are the symptoms of this disease?
Like I mentioned earlier, Streptococcus pneumoniae, which is the primary cause of pneumococcal disease, affect different parts of the body. So its symptoms varies upon which part of the body is infected. And these symptoms vary from headache, fever, to sepsis, stiffness of the neck, immobility, and even death.
Please let us know, is this vaccine meant for everybody? If not, who should not get this vaccine?
Thank you. So this vaccine is actually safe and effective like other vaccines, but there are some few group of people which I'll mention that may not take this vaccine, especially according to the types. The Mpsv4 vaccine should not be given to children less than 2 years. The Hpv 15 or the Hpv and the Hpv 20 should not be given to adults less than 19 years of age. People who are allergic to the first shot should not continue the vaccines. So if you have any other medical condition, you could seek your physician before going for this vaccine. And if you want to book this vaccine, you could visit any primary healthcare center around you for vaccination and also booster doses. If you have more questions about pneumococcal disease or pneumococcal vaccine, please call us on 090-3455-3795, or you could reach us on our webpage www.assetpharmacy.com. In the second note, I would like to talk about the HPV, which is the human papilloma virus, but majorly I'll be talking about the vaccine. So I'm sure you would like to ask me, what is the full meaning of HPV? So HPV, known as the human papilloma virus, is actually one which is very common, especially where we are in now, Nigeria. is the most common sexually transmitted infection. No cure. It has a vaccine, and the vaccine can actually be administered even when you are tested positive to HPV. This HPV virus is actually shared from one contact to another sexually. It usually represents itself first as warts. So the major therapy which we give people infected with this virus and actually come down with the first symptoms, warts, are OTC medications which you could get but not used in the genital area. For example, salicylic acid. So these warts could actually be displaced. It could be found in the genitals, it could be found in any other part of the body, and could actually be managed, but also can go on its own if left untreated. Although the vaccine is actually said to be given to children 9 years and above, it is recommended that children 11 to 12 years should be given the starting dose of HPV. Then, if this child hasn't celebrated his 15th birthday, it is said that the person would need just 2 doses. But from 15 years and older, the person needs to take at least 3 doses of these HPV vaccines to get full immunity. FDA approved the use of these vaccines from age 27 to 35 years. But it is said that not all ages may use this vaccine. It's only recommended from 9 to 26 years. 27 to 45 years may not really need this vaccine because it's said that they may have been exposed to this virus once in their lifetime. This vaccine is contraindicated in pregnant women. If you are pregnant, you are advised to wait until after your pregnancy before you can actually use this vaccine. There are types of vaccines you could find out there which can be administered to you, and different vaccines has different immunity that they give. You would find the Gardasil 9, which helps to boost your immunity against 9 different strains of this HPV virus. Then you have Gardasil, which helps to prevent against 4 different strains, and the Cervarix vaccine, which helps prevent against just 2 strains of this HPV virus. You should note that HPV is suspected to be one of the leading causes of cervical cancer, so you are advised to take these vaccines as said. If you want more information about HPV or its vaccines, you could call us and reach us on the number I mentioned previously.
Thank you for watching this video. We've come to the end of World Immunization Week. In case you missed on our previous video, you can click on the link below. And if you have any question, you can send us a message on WhatsApp 09034553795. I remain Pat from Asset Pharmacy. Bye.
Bye.